Hey, I'm Noodle Yeti, and this is the fourth part in a series I'm doing for building a city called Westdale. After last part where I detailed this whole park and the roundabout, well, I didn't really detail, but I added a lot of trees, fencing, pathways, just made it look really nice. I realized that the rest of the city is kind of lacking. Now, the rest of the city isn't fully developed yet, but we do have a few areas that are really close to being done, such as this neighborhood, this generic zoned industry, just things like that, and even this little educational area with the high school and elementary school. So I was thinking about going through and just adding a little bit more detail. Of course, also remembering to upgrade all the roads that make sense to upgrade, such as the industrial area. It's something I forgot to do last time. Upgrading the roads in this neighborhood, and I'm actually going to provide a little bit more access for them over here. There is one thing that kind of bothers me. It's the fact that I extended the commercials so far down over here. I think I want to keep everything to the right of this intersection. So I'm going to zone a little bit more over by the Korean food alley and de-zone these three over here. And I think that's about it. I think I'm going to start with detailing the right side of this road, kind of extending from where we came off. So I hope you enjoyed this little time lapse. I'll kind of explain why I did or why I do what I'm doing at the end. So I've added a lot more trees, rocks, low vegetation, and even some fences around both the industrial and the residential areas here. Now, the reason why I added fencing along this residential over here and not over here is because these homes have their backyards butted up against this main road here. And at least in my mind, the backyard tends to be a little bit more personal, somewhere where you'd want a little bit more privacy as opposed to your front yard, like these people over here. So I feel like these people are fine with not having any sort of fence or privacy from the main road, while these people kind of deserve just a little bit more. So I put in the zoo fence And then I added a lot of vegetation all along. I tried to keep it to only the trees that I've seen in the forest in this game. Or not in this game, in this map. But I might have added a couple other things as well. But I think it just really pulls this road together, especially when you're going along and all of a sudden there's this like giant redwood that just stands out. And you just keep going and there's another one and another one. You get these giant trees more towards the roundabout. I tried to keep all the larger ones closer to this intersection. Just that way, you know, if you're a visitor, you're coming to town, get to the roundabout, and you just have all these rocks and low vegetation, and along the edges you have these huge trees. I think that's just something that's really nice. As far as in here, I upgraded all the roads and I added one dirt road here. The reason why I don't want to upgrade this road yet is because I don't know where I want the crossover in this area. I don't want to continue following this road here straight through because I feel like if I put an intersection here, it's too close to the one leading out. So I know I want to offset it a bit, but I don't know by how much yet. Which brings me to my next point. I don't know if I upgraded these roads without thinking about water. Okay, we're fine. Never mind. We're good to upgrade. Over here, I kind of put a fence along the inside of the industry area as well, and that's just to kind of help protect these homes over here from this industry area. I didn't do any detailing here yet because I would like to make it just a little bit prettier by putting a path through here, maybe a little bit of a winding path, just to kind of have something that reflects what's going on this side of town here. I think that would really kind of pull it together just a little bit, and maybe even have the same thing going up along over here for this neighborhood in the future, but definitely not yet. So I think next I'm actually going to start detailing this home area here. So I'm sorry for the long time lapses this time. Both there's two reasons. It's really dry here right now where I'm living, and so like my voice is a little bit harder to speak. I got chapped lips. And also, I think I have like a head cold of some sort, so it's making my thinking and speaking just a little bit harder. So I think the detailing episode couldn't have come at a better time. So I'm relieved and thankful that it's happening now, but I'm sorry for you guys that it's just nothing but time lapses. All right, well, let's get detailing again. Alright, so we've got this side done over here, and we even have the side next to the school done. Now I'm sure there's some legal thing and safety concern with having trees and stuff so close to power lines, which is one of the reasons why I didn't detail this side. But I think I'm gonna be okay with a little bit of imagination over here, a little bit of safety rule breaking over there, and same with, there's another one over here as well, but I think I'm okay with that. As you can see, I added in the path, I put in some tall grass on the industry side. I tried to add a little bit to over here just to kind of make it look a little nicer, and you can see we've got people on it already. Let's slow down the speed just so we can kind of see them going on. Look at that. People are already loving this path. That is really cool. And then on this side, since I figure this road's going to be used a lot since there's going to be the school and eventually the sports hall gymnasium over here, I upgraded this to the 4-lane 2-unit wide road, and I put fencing all along the housing side as well as trees and flowers just to kind of decorate it up and make it look a little pretty and maybe even act as somewhat of a sound barrier. I mean, I don't know how effective that would be in game, but oh, sorry, that was my coffee cup. I don't know how effective that would be in game, but I do think it looks really good. I think for the next area, I want to start detailing up the education campus here. So one thing I want to point out is if we go, I believe, into parks, content creator, we have carports. So we can add parking for the teachers, for students, for the basketball court. Of course, we have other things in here as well, like hotels, restaurants, and all sorts of other props we can use that would have been interesting to use. There's another asset I saw here that a little bit of a teaser about what's coming up after this high school area, and maybe even incorporate some of this into the high school area, is that there are benches with points or sitting points for citizens. And that is really cool. So it's not just going to be like when we go over to these park areas and you see these benches, you don't ever see anybody sitting on them. They're always usually empty. And so these content creator ones, I forget which pack they're from. If I mouse over them, does it say? Mid-century modern. So these mid-century modern benches have places for people to sit at. And I think that's really cool, and I'm looking forward to it. Anyways, let's get back to detailing here. Alright, here is the education area. I added a little bit of parking over here for the teachers at the elementary school. It's 8 parking slots. I think that kind of makes a little bit of sense. I hope it does, at least. And I put a little bit of fencing around it with some trees and some flowers. I think it just looks really nice. I also added a fence around the elementary school. I wanted to go with something that didn't look so... I don't know, I feel like the fence that has these like spikes along the top is just a little excessive for an elementary school, but unfortunately that's the fence that comes with the building. So you know what, it's just what I went with, just to kind of match. The color doesn't match, the fence on the building is white while the fence I used is black. I don't know how to change the color of that, but... And I left the side open and the front open because, you know, can't actually connect them. It's just, that's what's going on. And then I added an extra road back here with some parking, and that is clearly clipping through the roof of that. How do I disallow that? That is ridiculous. But I added a road back here with some parking, and I left enough room for when I put the gymnasium over here that it'll fit perfectly. And I'd like to think of this parking back here as maybe the faculty parking at the high school. It's in the back. They have their entrance over here. I originally wanted it up against the back of this, but it was so close that it was ruining these benches that people are clearly sitting at. So I opted to put it on the other side. I put some trees along the sides of the high school and the elementary school here. I put the young lindens with some low growing vegetation over here. Kind of like a metaphor, like, you know, young, youth, elementary. And then I put some generic pines along the high school with some taller vegetation. It's kind of like representing that they're growing up just a little bit. And then across the street, turns out that the historical library fits perfectly in this little thing here. I don't think that the building itself looks like... I don't think it really fits, but it does add utility, it does fit perfectly, and it also continues kind of like that metaphor by using the wild conifers and how big and grown they are to show that, like, that's where the adults are going to be going to continue their education and that they're already established and whatnot. I did add this parking lot over here. Okay, I really don't like that the RV is clipped, but it is, you know what, whatever. I did add this parking lot over here for this basketball court. It's kind of a way to, I don't know, just in case there's a sporting event, let the families have places to park and whatnot. I did take away all the parking on all the interior streets here by adding the roads with sidewalks. I just don't want to see vehicles parking along the road, especially when we have all this other parking. You'll notice I also left this corner open. That's for two reasons, I think. One of them could be I could fit another building over here eventually, or instead of doing the gymnasium over here, over in this other corner, we could think about saying that we're upgrading our basketball court here into a gymnasium, and then we can turn that area over there into parking or maybe even some other educational building. So that's why I left those two corners open and empty, because we do have plans and thoughts about what could possibly happen. So far, all this detailing, just adding trees and rocks and fences, has taken me roughly about 45 minutes, in case you're curious and wondering. Another area I wanted to point out where I just have this one tree, I'm going to leave this empty and not zone any houses into it, because we have the medical campus over here. And you might be wondering, it's not really a campus, you only have one medical building here. In the future, we're going to get multiple buildings such as hospitals, high capacity hospitals, child health centers, elder care, which I think is actually going to be too big for this, crematoriums, saunas, helicopters, all sorts of really fun stuff. Even a crematorium memorial park. And I think if you had a big enough hospital here, they would want easier access for the people in the neighborhoods around them to be able to walk to the campus for their doctor's appointments. So I decided I wanted to keep this area empty here, so that way in the future I can extend this park zone over to this little area here and create a pedestrian bridge over into this park. So that way not only do these immediate homes around here have access, walking access to the park, but they'll also have walking access to this medical area. You know what, while I'm here, I think I'm going to just quickly add a couple parking stalls right there. And that'll also be for this medical clinic and also for the park across the street. So I did hint that I wanted to add a little bit more of a personal touch to this park. And then I feel that just the paths with lights and benches and these three assets here might not be completely enough. So I kind of want to go through and add maybe just a few more props along this area, just to kind of add a little bit more to it. Alright, so I've added a few of these seating areas every now and again throughout here. I tried to keep them mostly towards the junctions. Ooh, I see. I could probably add a couple over here. But I wanted to place them in areas that kind of made sense, where, say, for instance, you lived in this neighborhood over here and you're like, hey, let's go have lunch in the park. You go through the gate, and boom, you're right here. I mean, I don't know if you'd want to have lunch right next to the freeway off-ramp, but you could have lunch over here, you come, you park, you sit, you eat lunch, you enjoy the scenery. And even over here on this side, I mean, I understand that this is already a cafe here with seating outside of it, but you might not be a patron of the cafe. You might have brought your lunch from work or something or whatnot, and you just decide to come sit down and enjoy it over here. I'd be interested to see how citizens come to sit down and eat at these. I kind of want to keep this end just a little bit empty, with nothing over here, just kind of as the foreshadowing of bringing the bridge over into that neighborhood and extending the park just a little bit. Ooh, that's right. I think I said I wanted to move the commercial over. So since last time, I wanted to have a better understanding of how certain parts of this game work, so I messed around with some of the unique buildings and pedestrian areas. I had started a city and I built it up enough to the point where I could use pedestrian areas and unique buildings, so as an unfortunate side effect, we've actually unlocked a couple of other unique buildings, such as the Hall of Moderation and the government offices. I forget where those are at, but I wanted to... Oh yeah, here they are, government offices. I also was kind of scared to try and unlock the government offices in this map, because to unlock it, I found out that you have to basically turn off your garbage processing, and it'll back up in the city. Everybody will get mad. Ooh, fire. There we go, firemen hard at work. So I found out in order to unlock that government office, you kind of have to turn off your garbage processing, and I didn't want that to negatively impact the city too much, because if enough people moved out of the city and then we fixed it and then they all moved back in at once, we'd start to deal with death waves, and I didn't want to add that challenge to this game. Unnecessarily add that challenge. So that one I'm kind of okay with not having done it in this city. And I think this other one, this cinema, I think was a byproduct of me messing around with pedestrian areas and tourism. So I found out that, say for instance, we turn part of this into a pedestrian area and we slap down a couple of unique buildings in there which attract tourists. It turns out that that will not count towards your pedestrian area tourism. It will only count towards that particular building's tourism. Another thing I messed around with was concerts. So as you can see, we have both of them unlocked, which means I had placed down the concert area, and as a byproduct, I unlocked the fan zone area. That as well will not bring those tourists into that pedestrian area, even if it's in the pedestrian area. It does raise the tourism, or the number of tourists in your pedestrian area, but it doesn't count towards it. So if you have a show that's sold out of 300 people in there, it won't count as 300 people being tourists in that pedestrian area, which is very strange. I don't understand why they are separate, especially if it's in there, if it's in the zone, it's on the pedestrian roads. Game sees them as two totally different things. And another unfortunate thing with the concerts is that from what it looks like, is I have to actually be listening to the concert's radio in order for it to have an effect, or it looked like placing radio masts throughout the city so that way our Sims can listen to the concert. So there's two different ways that we could possibly make the concerts work, because as you can see, concerts are not as big as I thought they were going to be. I thought it was going to be really massive, like if we look at the football stadium, how huge that is. I think that just doesn't make sense at all. But concerts kind of does. I wasn't able to mess around with it enough to be able to upgrade it to level 2 or level 3, so I don't know if it changes sizes for that. I think that'd be kind of interesting to figure out at some point in the future. So looking at the map here, I think our city's starting to get to the size where we want to start considering finding another way out of the city or in the city. So buying a tile along the highway somewhere. And I was thinking, ooh, we just reached the next park level. Gazebos, that's perfect. We might be able to jump back into detailing the park just a little bit more and adding a couple of these in. Even just throughout the city. Alright, well that's actually really neat. Okay, so back to what I was talking about. I want to see, when we're looking at the tiles we can buy, the next one we can buy, I want to see if the tile above the one that I'm highlighting has access to this highway, and if it has enough access to the highway to add an on and off ramp to it. If it doesn't, I want to consider buying the tile to this. If it doesn't, it might get a little bit rough going forward, because then we'd have to buy another tile in order to have access to the highway, and it's just going to start extending things out. But I do think we're at the point now where we have to start considering more and more ways in and out of the city for both people and cargo. We'll have to figure out how to expand when it happens. So let's go ahead and start putting some gazebos down around town. Alright, so I've added just a couple gazebos around town. As you can see, I put 2 over here. It was really difficult to fit these in. I didn't quite make this path windy enough to create enough space between here to put a gazebo there, or here. But I did add some to the park as well, right next to the cafe, in the plaza. I put 2 of them over here in case people from the farming industry want to come over here and have their lunch or something. They have some easy access to at least 2 gazebos here too. Ooh, it's right in front of a bench. Nope, I don't want it to lead it. I want to just scoot it over. What about there? Alright, so now the bench isn't in its way. 2 of them right here, just so that way they could have their lunch here. And just a couple along the paths here. Just to kind of fill it out and give people more places to meet up and hang out. I don't know why, but people just absolutely love gazebos for some reason. Yeah, I think that's about it. My voice is starting to hurt a little bit, getting a little bit of a headache just from this weather and having a general head cold. But yeah, we've added a lot of detailing to around the industry area, around the completed neighborhood, a little bit more to the educational area here. Added a few more touches to the park. I think for next episode, we're going to be focused more on actually reaching the next milestone. It was a lot of fun doing a lot of detailing, but I think we need to worry about expanding next time. We definitely have to think about alternate modes of transportation and exportation of our goods, because this interchange will begin to back up and give us problems if we don't give our city alternate ways out. Thank you for watching. I appreciate it. I hope you enjoyed. I hope you like some of the details I added and trying to incorporate the natural landscape and trees around here into the build, or into the area. I have a lot of fun doing it. I think it really adds just a lot of, it adds a lot of flavor, I think. Just really brings the city to life. And I hope you enjoyed, and I look forward to next time and hope to see you there.